ang exchange rate ng Denarii Cash. Para sa pinakamataas na exchange rate, i-Denarii Cash mo na yan. Ang baba! Ang baba! Ang baba ng transaction fee ng Denarii Cash. Para sa pinakamababang transaction fee, i-Denarii Cash mo na yan.
We OFWs, we want the value for our money talaga. So everything na kahit konting cents lang yan, malaking bagay yan when we are sending by the thousands, di ba? And true enough, hindi lang competitive, naging mas mataas pa kayo sa mga kumpara sa iba. So at the same time, yung customer service, excellent. Subukan nyo lang one time for sure, hindi nyo na po iiwanan ang Denarii Cash. Yan.
Dala mo yung gitara ko.
Oh no!
Akala ko bukas pa uwi mo.
Anong bukas? Sino sabi sa'yo? O, bakit mo nakadala yan?
Kasi Brad, kinulang ko ng padala eh.
Oh.
Uso barter nun, babarter ko na lang to muna sa isang bigas. Dagdag cargo din. No?
Hindi naman sa'yo yun eh.
Babayaran na lang kita.
Kahit pa. Hindi mo ba alam na pwede mong padala ng bigas gamit ang Denarii Cash?
Ha? Di nga.
Bubuksan mo lang yung app. Pipiliin mo lang yung grocery. Ang bigas padala. At iba pang grocery items gamit ang online palengke. Pwede na rin magpa-deliver ng Jollibee.
Oh, amazeballs!
Baka pa order ka na ng mga grocery items sa Pilipinas.
Wow! Talaga?
Sige na. Balik mo rin. Baka ma-enpass ko pa sa'yo yan. Denarii Cash ka.
Good afternoon! Welcome to the first episode of DC Academy, imparting ideas, insights, and innovations. My name is Jay Tolentino, and I am your host for today. Thank you to everyone who's watching. Today, we'll be talking about the secrets of growing a business abroad. I know a lot of you have been thinking about how you can earn more for your families or for yourself. Whatever ideas you might have in mind, I hope this episode inspires you to take that leap towards your goal. You might be even wondering what it is like to grow a business outside your home country. Well, we will discuss all of that today. And right now, we'll be hearing from two of the most successful expats and entrepreneurs in the Gulf. Our guest for today would be, the first one would be Miss Lalaine Chu Benitez. She is the founder of Illustrado magazine, the leading Filipino lifestyle community magazine in the Middle East. She is also an entrepreneur, a marketing professional, and a social advocate. So let us all welcome Miss Lalaine Chu Benitez.
Hi, Jay.
Hey,
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody watching right now. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Really excited for today's event. It's my first time hosting Denarii Cash live. And I'm really blessed that I have you here as part of the pilot episode for DC Academy.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay. And our next guest is none other than the CEO and founder of Denarii Cash. He is a techpreneur and was hailed by Illustrado magazine as one of the most influential Filipinos in the Gulf. Let's all welcome John Edward Santillan.
Hello everyone.
Hello, how
hi
are you,
Jay.
bro?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good. We're excited for this, man.
Same here. I'm very excited, and thank you so much, Lalaine, for joining for our pilot episode with DC Academy.
Thank you for having me, John. Finally, nice to meet you. Finally, huh?
No, I agree. It is indeed. I mean, we've been talking for
It's
a
overdue.
long time. Oh,
I
yeah,
know.
it is indeed.
And thank you for the opportunity, John, for letting me host this event. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that I'm gonna learn from you guys, because I also want to have my own business here in the UAE. And of course, I brought my notes with me so that I can write down some insightful ideas from you guys. So let's make this conversation really fun. All right?
Of course,
Yeah.
I'm very
Now,
excited.
Super.
super. All right. Now, first, for my first question, can you tell us more about Illustrado and Denarii Cash and what inspired you guys with your idea? So, any one of you
So I
can answer.
guess, I mean,
Do you want to go ahead, John? Go ahead. Yeah.
I, I think Lalaine will be. I think it will be really interesting to hear Lalaine's story. I think I've been always telling about myself and the Denarii Cash, but I guess it'll be honored for us to hear the story behind Illustrado.
Oh, thank you. Right. So I've been here in the UAE with my family for 30 years now. Don't start calculating my age because we've been here for a long time. So my entire family has been here. And one of the things that we've always felt, especially when I was in the corporate world, was that there was something missing in the Filipino community before. Most of the media platforms were really selling the idea of a stereotypical Filipino. My background is in marketing. I used to be the head of Novartis Consumer Health, head of marketing here in the Gulf region. So when I thought about leaving the company and trying to set up a business for myself and my husband was with Leo Burnett. He was a creative director there, and he was one of the top guys who was handling the bread and butter accounts of Leo Burnett. We thought about doing something within our core strengths that would help out the Filipino community. So the business really didn't start as a business per se. It started more like a social enterprise, like an advocacy. Because one of the things I've noticed when I used to go around the Gulf as a marketing professional was whenever I would speak, for example, at a conference or at an event that we would be holding, I would see the Filipino staff, in the hotels, that they would bring along their managers and point to, and point me to their manager and say, look, it's a Filipina talking, it's a Filipina who's leading this project. And they were so proud of that. So that stayed in my mind, that stuck in my mind. And I thought, when Filipinos see other Filipinos being successful, they get, motivated, they get inspired. That's why when we thought about putting something, that's inspirational and aspirational for the Filipino people, and utilizing our core strengths. Mine was in marketing, and of course my husband was in advertising, and everybody who was surrounding us was in the business of putting together good imagery, writing. We had photographer friends, we had model friends, and it just felt natural at that time.
Wow, focusing on strengths is really one of the best ways on how we can work together with other people. And what about you, John?
I think before I introduce it, like tell my story, I think I got a goosebump from what Lalaine have mentioned earlier, and it's totally agree. I totally agree on that one. I had an experience this when I was speaking last year about Denarii Cash in a crowd, in an investor and entrepreneurs crowd, and I can see kind of like all the Filipinos out there like listening. It's like, hey, that's a Filipino, and they rally me during that event, and yeah, I think that's one of the I guess inspiring thing from startup Filipino entrepreneurs that I can contribute, or they can see that can contribute within the Filipino diaspora or the community system. So just want to add that in there. I mean, from myself, I think I've been doing a lot of talks, 2-hour Facebook page, and I think for me, I'll just try to make it short and sweet. From my side, I've been in the UAE for the last 15 years, background in the corporate side. It's really funny when my background is actually, I'm a technical person. I'm a programmer, and moved to a digital marketing role. The reason for that is I use or utilize my technical skills to do the digital marketing side. So been here for 14 years, work in different industries. So mainly from travel sector, work with Etihad for 7 years, 3 years with Abu Dhabi government, leading the product development of the national newspaper, Al Etihad newspaper, Abu Dhabi TV, so all the web media properties of the Abu Dhabi government. So how did I end up into become an entrepreneur? I guess from my side is one of the things that I've experienced during 2016. I was already on the point that I believe I've done a lot of my fair share in the corporate world, and asking myself what would be the next thing for me. And that's where I would say the point where I asked myself, like, I think it is the best time to pursue entrepreneurship, as I've been doing it even while in the corporate side, building companies. And I took a leap of faith during 2016 and decided that, I need to, in order for me to become successful and at least have a chance to be successful becoming an entrepreneur, is to do this full time and focus only in one thing that I really want to do, which is build company, be it in any places. So I quit in 2016, traveled Southeast Asia, Europe, and in the US, and start looking at what company to work on. During 2017, I noticed that there's a hype, or there's a lot of news about the mobile wallets in Southeast Asia. So Gojek, for example, in Indonesia, Grab in Singapore, right? Gcash and the coins PCH in the Philippines. And I was like, that actually like gives me an idea that, hey, I would like to do this in the UAE, because during that time we don't have a mobile wallet in the UAE or in the region. I went back in the UAE in 2017 and started pitching this idea to investors and investor family and friends. And when I was pitching those ideas, some of my friends, or most of my friends, and even the investor, told me that I'm actually crazy. And the reason for that is, before Denarii Cash, I was like building different projects, different companies, and most of them actually failed. And one very interesting person, which is a very, very close friend of mine, his name is Powell, is one of the closest advisor, when I told him, like, I would like to build something, a mobile wallet to the Philippines, to the UAE, he said, John, I think it's too big. You just came from a failed company, from failed startup. I don't think you would be able to bootstrap the company again. Why don't you start with a small project and see how it goes? And then he asked me, why did you even come here in the UAE? He asked me, it's like, how long you been here in the UAE? And I answered like, hey, I've been here in the UAE for the last 15 years. And then he asked me, like, why did you even come here? I said, well, during that time, I was here because I would like to provide a better life for my family back home. And that's where all started. He told me, like, why don't you start with the Filipino? Help the Filipinos to send money back home. And that's where all Denarii Cash started. And since then, it was an amazing journey. It was a crazy journey for all of us. And now we are here, and we're growing exponentially month over month. And now we're not only focusing with the Filipinos. We open up to 11 countries, from Indian diaspora, Pakistani, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and hopefully we can offer Denarii Cash to more countries, or to more nationalities in the region, not only in the UAE.
Wow.
Yeah, John, sorry, Jay, if I may, I just wanted to pick on what John was saying, that people were saying that you were crazy, because it was the same for us. I think most entrepreneurs, especially if you're creating something totally new, like you are doing for Denarii and the Filipino community and the other Asian communities, and what we have done in terms of creating a totally new media sector, which did not exist before, before Illustrado existed. People look at you and they think that you're crazy, because how can you even dream about this? Why don't you just stay in your corporate job? But the thing is, you have to make that jump, right? It doesn't matter if people call you crazy.
No, I'm totally 100% agree on that one. And especially, I believe Illustrado started super early. I think in around 2006, 2006, along those lines. And I could imagine like how difficult during that time. I'm sure like how difficult to set up the business. All this. All the
we didn't have free Facebook. We didn't have free social media back then. So it was old school. It was traditional. So we were in the publishing business, and we still are in the publishing business, and we have to compete with the big companies out there, and we're just ourselves. We don't have like a big corporation backing us up or anything, but we were able to do something significant and create a new category for Filipinos. And I think a lot of the brands that are now interested in the Filipino community, it's because of the kind of noise that we have created for the Filipino community to begin with.
Totally agree on that one. I think what interesting you've done in Lane is actually you've carved out this new niche that was not there before, and then establish that, and then provide a voice not only for a small segment of the Filipinos, but actually a broader segment where now everyone is trying to go there on the same industry. But I mean, I'm sure it's actually, I could imagine how difficult when you were starting during this industry from the media side.
It was very difficult, but I think that might be Jay's next question.
Oh,
Right.
that's true.
Just guessing what Jay is thinking right now.
I love how you guys are speaking about how you started your company, and I'm really inspired right now. And you guys are paving the way for many Filipinos here. And hats off to you guys. Now, as we move forward to our conversation, actually, yeah, the next question would be about the changes or the biggest change that you've seen before you started the business and today. So, what were your observations?
Lalaine, you wanna start on that one? I'm
Yeah.
keen to hear about it.
The biggest change in terms of me as a person or the business, Jay?
Yeah, when you started the business. You
Uh,
mentioned about
well,
2006, yeah, and the difference probably today.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. Like I was saying earlier, no, in terms of the business, in terms of the category, a category of a private standalone company setting up a media platform or a media or a publishing business for the Filipino community was unheard of before Illustrado. This did not exist before. The only player in the market was ABS-CBN, which is not really grown in the region. So we were the first, the first company to really do something, in terms of the media here. And like I said earlier, I think that has shifted and that has allowed a lot of the companies now to leverage the Filipino community, into something that's important to their market. Because before we started, nobody was talking about the Filipino community. We were there, but we were largely invisible. We stuck to our own. Now that we have, when we set up Illustrado, what we've done is that we've opened the market up and we allowed companies to then start marketing to the Filipino community. While at the same time, we were able to give the Filipino community visibility. Now, in terms of yung structure ng aming company, we are still small because one of the things that we never really looked into was to scale up the company in a major way and get other parties interested in what we were doing, something that we are reviewing at the moment. But I think in terms of ripple effect in the market, in terms of creating a sector which did not exist before, that is certainly one of the things that we can say we contributed to. And I think the growth of many of the Filipino community, especially the Filipino fashion community, has been part of our successes, from when we started. Because when we started, nobody was talking about these designers. Again, we have managed to be a big part of their growth and prominence, not only in the region and in the Philippines, but on a larger scale. So a lot of those things happened because of Illustrado.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I think when you hear the word Illustrado, it immediately gives you that impression about elegance. And if your name is in that magazine, then definitely
Yes.
you are a person who's really worth hearing. So yeah, and
It's very important for us, to set the standard so high for Filipinos, because I remember when I was, introducing the idea the first time back in 2006 to the then ambassador here in the UAE, si Ambassador Libran Kabaktulan, who became our mentor and supporter. After that, I showed him the magazine and he was telling me, "Don't you think it's too high end, or it's too glossy, or it's too, it's too premium for the Filipino community?" And I told him before that, just because we are masa, it doesn't mean that we deserve any less. So it was always our intention to keep this standard up, because that's what we feel. We feel that our people deserve that kind of quality. It doesn't matter if we are humble. It doesn't matter if we are modest or masa. We deserve good quality, and that's what we've stuck to through all these years.
I think I totally agree on that one. I think the brand recognition of Illustrado is really up to the most, and everyone that would like to be associated with Illustrado are very overwhelmed with the recognition that they're getting from Illustrado. And I think kudos to Lalaine and to the rest of Illustrado. I mean, you did a great job in putting that, positioning the brand and outside in the outside world, and and we cannot wait to see more of what you guys are doing in the future. But that's really, really good how you did it.
Yeah, and what about you, John? What have you observed, like
I
before
think,
starting Denarii and now?
I guess from our side, what I can share is the experience building companies or building different companies from the past. From the business perspective, not so from the general perspective of building a business. During 2009, when we started building some of the companies that we started before, setting up the business is really, really difficult, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of red tape in terms of, where to go, how to do it. There's no really like a proper or practical process of how to register a company. And at the same time, it's way, way expensive, right? It will cost you like arms and legs just to get a name or register a company name. And then you need to have an office space and a lot of those factors. And now the difference is it's much more easier, right? So, and it's much more less cheaper compared like what 5 years, 6 years, 7 years ago. And now you can actually register in ADGM under $700 company. In DIFC you can register under $1,500 company, right? So now the access to become an entrepreneur is much more easier. It's much more accessible. And again, like what Elaine had mentioned earlier, before there's no platform to promote your product. So you're betting on people that within the network that could actually help you to spread the word of mouth about the product, about the services that you're offering. But now it's easier. Like anyone who have a computer or laptop and an internet can literally approach anyone in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or whatever social media that where the customer is, and you can actually ask feedback and opinion to build your product, as you go. But before, it's much more difficult. And before like 2009, it was only Twitter during that time. So I think that are the changes. That I guess a good change that happened from the past and now. And access to capital is another thing, right? Access to capital is much more easier compared from the past. We've done fundraising 4 years ago. Call 100 people. All of them will say no. So I think those are the big changes. And the only thing that I could say that what's happening in the UAE and the region as a whole, it's growing faster, right? So we always said from the entrepreneurial perspective, this is the best time for people to build a company because it's much more easier now compared before.
Yeah, just to add to what John was saying there, I love Gary Vaynerchuk. You guys probably, for sure, know Gary Vaynerchuk, right? He said that this is a golden time for any entrepreneur because the access, like John is saying, the availability of free resources and access to people, it's literally flat right now. You can reach out to people. The cost of operations is cheaper. The cost to promote yourself is cheaper. I mean, we even can see some people who don't necessarily have companies. They can start small businesses, whether it's legal or not legal, but the facility, the infrastructure is all there. So there is really no excuse. The learning is also there. You turn on your Google, you check out your YouTube, and there are tutorials everywhere. So there's access to everybody.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And on a personal experience as well, I just realized that I'm so blessed when we started our company last year on Distinctive Designs with Doc Rex and Sigmund. So we were new. We just opened it online. And it's just a click of a button. You just have to pay a minimum fee, and you already have a business of your own. And coming from your stories, guys, I really think that if I go back 10 years before and start a business, it would have been a really painful task. But unlike today, you just send an SMS and you can renew your license, and it's much easier right now. So I just think that many Filipinos are not aware of that opportunity. Yeah.
Jay, it took us one entire year to get an approval from the National Media Council. Just for the approval. That's without the licensing procedure and all that. So that was back then,
Yeah, that's a tedious process. I can imagine. And yeah, well, thank you for that information, guys. Now, before we go to our commercial, here's one question that I want to ask of you. Now, you guys are skilled and experienced entrepreneurs. Now, you've encountered and overcame a lot of challenges already. But I want to ask you, what has been your biggest challenge yet that you have faced?
Lorraine, you wanna pick that one up?
Go ahead, John. It's a
Sorry.
tough question. I'm trying to compose my thoughts here. Go ahead, John. Yeah.
I think, I mean, for me, I mean, there's a lot of challenges, I guess, that I've experienced. I can name a few. While I wasn't working in a corporate world, I already started building companies alongside with friends and other family as well. And as a first-time entrepreneur, 2009, 2010, there's a lot of like new challenges and faces, problems that I faced in the early days, right? So name all of those problems that a typical normal, first-time entrepreneur that will face, we've experienced it. So getting the right people on board, hiring the programmer and developer, registering the company, fundraising, looking for the office. We've done, we've experienced all those challenges. The really interesting part is actually the learning from those challenges that I've experienced from the past. So with this Denarii, in my opinion, we've done a really great job in terms of putting the right people in place, getting the right people involved in the platform that we are developing, setting the vision, setting the mission. And again, I'm not saying that Denarii Cash don't have any challenges or we're facing any other challenges. There will always be a challenge building a company as you progress. It could be a small from the start, and then it could be a bigger from, or rather, it could be bigger from the start and then maybe small later on. But there will still be a bigger. There will always be a problem and challenge along the way. The biggest challenge in Denarii Cash is, I would say, when during this year, right? So one of the biggest challenge for us was more on early this year. We're only serving the Filipino community, so Filipino, sending money back home was our main target. And then during the second week of March, we've seen a huge impact of a lot of nationalities trying to access the platform. And the reason for that is two things when we saw the market. The first one is when the government mandates everyone to stay at home. And then the second one is, one of the house exchanges have closed, have shut down. So we've seen a huge, different diaspora or different nationality, trying to download the platform. And during that time, we don't have any capacity to open up to new corridor. So the challenge was more on, this is the best time for us to open this new corridor, and how can we overcome these challenges to make sure that we can help other nationality to send money back to their home country as well. So the really interesting part is, the team and I have rallied those missions for 6 weeks, for continuous 6 weeks, to make sure that we can open up to the new corridor. And with the hard work of the team and everyone in Denarii Cash, we managed to open up all these new corridors, such as the Indian diaspora, Pakistani, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, and other countries, or 11 more countries. And yeah, that I would say that the biggest challenge and how we resolve it.
Yeah, so I was
think
writing
on a-
down your. Yeah,
Mhm.
go ahead, Lorraine.
You're making notes, Jay.
Yes, I'm learning from you guys.
Yeah, so I think we share most of the challenges of whatever small enterprises, small and medium enterprises share. So those things are very typical. For us, the main challenge really is resources or funding, because when you're in a small team, there's only so much you can do, and if you don't have investment partners or other capital going around, that's the main challenge for us. But I think what has resulted in having a challenge like this is that we have a team. I always call my team lean and mean. We have a very lean team that's multi-skilled. And if I can use the word, the Tagalog word, do you guys know the word, the meaning of the word banat? We have this thing in Tagalog. Banat, they're stretched, they're toned, they're tight, because they can function and make the most use of whatever resources we've got, and they're multi-skilled, and I'm very proud of that. I think what happens is that when you have little resources, you are forced to be resourceful and to be creative. That's not to say that we don't accomplish huge things. We have accomplished a lot of big things, during our time in Illustrado. And what people don't see is that we have other businesses that we are also incubating, like Giver, or we're
Yeah.
working for advertising and marketing for various clients that are not part of our Illustrado operations. So I think that has really helped us be very efficient in the way we do things. But that will always be there, and it would be good to have even more resources in the future, because that will allow us to do even bigger things. But I think, yes, that is something that we share with most small businesses.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with you guys, because I think every challenge is an opportunity for every person or business to grow, and how we handle these challenges will definitely define the future of our businesses. And I do understand how resilient you guys are, and I always see that when you guys post something on social media, and when I see you in the community. That's why you are really highly admirable to me. Now, let's go to our commercial first. And I know you guys have certainly been inspired, and there were so many eye-opening statements that Lalaine and John has mentioned. Now, we will be back after a few messages. And to everyone who's watching, you can visit Illustrado magazine and download Denarii Cash. By the way, the links are just on the description, and we'll be right back after these few messages.
Ang taas! Ang taas! Ang taas ng exchange rate ng Denarii Cash. Para sa pinakamataas na exchange rate, Denarii Cash mo na yan. Money saving tip of the week.
Pay your credit card on time and in full.
The late fee that you'll be paying for your credit card could have been the same money that you have saved for your retirement. Think about it.
Speaking of savings, with Denarii Cash,
You can save each time you send money to your loved ones
with high exchange rate,
and low transaction fees.
so what are you waiting for?
Download Denarii Cash now!
Yo, what's up? This is Real Talk Darbs. I just wanted to tell you that you can win daily prizes if you use our application, Denarii Cash. Now, more customers can win prizes, discounts, gift certificates, or brand new gadgets. We would like to thank you, our thousands of avid users who engage with Denarii Cash. Because of your continued support, everybody will have a chance to win exciting prizes. Now, I want you to refer because you will get rewarded. The customer with most referrals will take home the brand new phone, laptop, or even a tablet. Every month, one winner will get the grand prize. So what are you waiting for, guys? Download the Denarii Cash application right now and win these exciting prizes.
And we're back. I'm still with John Santillan, CEO and founder of Denarii Cash, and Lalaine Benitez, the founder of Illustrado magazine. Again, this is the first episode for DC Academy, The Secrets of Growing a Business Abroad. Now, John, 1.1 million waitlisted users in the past few months. I have a question for you. What is the secret to your growth?
What is the secret to our? I mean, there's no secret in our growth. I think the way I would say it, it's we just have a right product on the right time with the right team. I always said to other investors, to people that I talk to about those progress that we have done for the last couple of months, it's more on we are on the uncertain circumstances, and we're fortunate enough to capture this market during this time. And the 1.1 million users are actually driven by the factors that I mentioned earlier. When the pandemic hit, different nationalities will start knocking our doors and then asking like, "Hey, John, can we use Denarii Cash to send money back home?" Other diaspora as well, and that's where we see the spike or the huge tailwind of the users using our app or accessing our application. So what we did was more on in the application, we created a waitlist landing page, if you like, or a page or a window, and then we asked them to drop their email address or their phone number, and then we will reach out to them once the country or their home country is available to access or they can access it through Denarii Cash to send money back home. And during that time, we've done a great job from developing the product from that perspective. So one of great people behind the technology is Wilfredo Perez. So he's one of our CTO. He's one of our CTO, and he built this technology from the ground up along with other technical team leads, and they managed to rally in terms of delivering the technology on the right time. And I think that actually helped us to capitalize in a good way during that time, where capture this market as much as zero cost acquisition cost. And again, that's not a secret sauce at all. It just so happened, and it's good for us that it happened during the right time, and with the right product, that available right product, because during that time there's not a lot of alternative solution that you can provide more value from the money that you send back home. And Denarii Cash is one, and I would say, and I'll be proud to say that the best alternative solution to get more value from money that you send back home.
Okay. Now I'm curious about Lalane's business, how he grew Illustrado, because John is a techpreneur. Now Lalane is in the publishing. Now, and many businesses fail at the first to second year, and normally on the fifth year they vanish. Some vanish, but yours, you've stood the test of time for more than a decade. Now, how did you grow Illustrado when you were starting for the first probably 5 years, and how do you keep growing even until today?
When we launched Illustrado, Jay, I can remember that people were already having a countdown on how far we will go and how long we will last. Because it's always like that, there's always some controversy in the Filipino community when, when something new comes along. And that's the truth. People were already counting back then, and we're going to be hitting our 14th year in September.
Amazing.
There's no secret to, like John said, there's no secret to growing your customers. For us, growing customers mean to keep churning out something that is always of value to them. So it's within our editorial values. It's within the things that we do. It's always giving out something that is of value to them. It's always giving out something that enhances their lives, So whether that be the stories that we do, the events, the projects that we do, the magazines that we release. So everything that we do is all about adding value to the Filipino audience that we serve. If we're not adding value, then there's no way of growing customers. That's simply the best thing to do to grow your customers. Now, in terms of the client side, in terms of the media agencies and the brands that we serve, it's again giving them value. It's giving them a way to access the Filipino community, which is in a very professional way and which is also affordable for them. So it's creating value and serving both your audience and your clients value every time you give something. Yeah.
Audience and client.
I think I just want to add on what Lalane have mentioned. I totally agree on that one, and I would like to echo on what she mentioned in terms of value. And I think one of the things that firsthand we've experienced it with Illustrado as a not known entrepreneur when we were starting, and one of the few people that actually cover us was Illustrado, right? Illustrado, which is actually Lalane and her team, and as well as a very close, it's not a friend, but well, it's not a very close friend, but it's someone that we've been engaging, a Filipina from entrepreneur. Her name is Pamela, and those are the one who actually help us to give our to put our voice out there, and to get acknowledged that hey, Denarii Cash are there and providing more value, providing value to other nationality, not only to the Filipinos. And yeah, I think I just want to echo on what Lalane have mentioned on that side.
And again, just to add to that, because I think this is a very valuable lesson to all entrepreneurs out there. There's no way you can have a business if you don't serve. You have to serve first. That's the only way to create a business. If you're solving somebody's problem, if you're adding value, if you're providing service, if you're just out there and you're thinking, I'm going to make money and I'm just going to do whatever I want, it doesn't work. You have to provide service. You have to provide value.
I agree on that one.
Yeah, I think money is just the bonus out of giving value to so many people. And now, as I understand, Illustrado and Denarii Cash have partnered. And I'm sure more people will know about you and the good things that you have done for the community. With the users that you have acquired, how do you guys nurture them with this partnership? How do you think? Yeah.
From the partnership, well, I guess I think let me just talk about from the partnership perspective. I mean, for us, we're really, really excited to partner with Illustrado. And I think, as I mentioned before, the brand recognition of Illustrado associating with Denarii Cash would be, very honored from our side to be part of that. They've been there, they've done that. They know, they know how to talk to the community, and we believe by this partnership we can, grow together, do a lot more things. Not only for, I would say not only improving, one product or one brand, but of course, helping each other to grow would be the much more important part. So that's one of the reasons we've decided. I mean, it's long overdue, and I know that, and I keep telling that to Lalaine. But we are very, very excited about the partnership, and we cannot wait, to collab with the team from Illustrado and what else we can do together to voice out what Denarii Cash would like to do in the community or outside the community per se.
Yeah, John, thank you so much for supporting us. We're really truly thrilled about this partnership as well. And as I was saying earlier about creating value, I think when two companies who believe in creating value come together, then there's even better for consumers out there. Because I think anything that we do together can only mean so much better things for the Filipino community. So I'm very excited about what we have and our partnership moving forward.
Yes, collaboration definitely plays an important role in building a bigger project, and especially adding more value to so many people in this region. Now,
I think
for my last question, please, John.
Sorry, Jay. I think I really want to add on that one is,
Sure.
I think one of the things that I really like to collaborate with Illustrado, with companies like Illustrado and other companies that we've been working on, is all the people that we are work with and we're working with now is, we all have the same mindset of these things, like, helping each other, providing more value. And I think, again, just to add up on that one, because I'm just getting excited about this partnership, is, if both sides actually could provide value to the consumer or to the listener or to the readers, I'm sure, we can all both create or do something much more bigger than what we're doing now.
Yeah.
I think that's the best part of business, if it's a win-win for not only the partners but also for the consumers and our users. So it's really amazing.
I agree.
Totally agree with you guys. Now, for my last question, what's your advice to other expats who want to build and grow their business?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Do it scared.
I think it's not for everyone, right? It's setting up a business is really, really difficult. But if you really want to test it, if you're up for if I remember I was listening to one of the podcasts last night, and to one of our very, very close friends, Shil Monot, and he mentioned that if you have something, if you're thinking something that tickles your mind and kind of very itchy in terms of, I'm not sure, sorry, if it's Shil or Kylie Nang from 500 Startup, but one of them have mentioned about, if you are thinking something that you would like to do, or kind of itching yourself of, you cannot wait to do something else, you cannot wait just do it, then maybe it's for you. Maybe try to take some risk. So maybe that's about time for you to try and test and to become an entrepreneur. Becoming an entrepreneur is not easy. It's a really, really difficult side. I mean, there's a lot of sacrifices that you need to do, a lot of burdens that you need to carry. From our side, with where we raise money from our investor, we do have a fiduciary responsibility in terms of how we spend the money of investors, how we spend it in the right way, and then we need to look after the team and all of those ones. So it's not really easy. But the good thing is actually it's fun, right? So we try to make it as fun as much as possible, because we love what we're doing. We all rally together and believing on the mission that we can at least put a dent in terms of providing more value to the migrant workers, not only in the UAE and hopefully in the GCC. And our aspiration could be a global, a global platform helping migrant workers to send money back home cheaper, better, with no hidden charges. And to to those ones that would like to do it, maybe there's a different steps of baby steps of doing it. Maybe while you're still in the corporate job, as always said, maybe try while you're still working in the corporate side. Try to collaborate with people that have experienced it from the past. Bounce some ideas with other people. But yeah, I mean, I know it's a contradicting, but I mean, in the general rule, it's like it's difficult. Don't do it, but if you do it, like try to do it on a face-by-face basis.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. And I know entrepreneurship seems to be very sexy right now. I think in the last couple of years, there's this aspiration of becoming an entrepreneur or a founder because it's all the rage right now. Everybody's talking about it. Startups are cropping up everywhere else in the world. But the thing is, it's not for everybody, like John has said. And that's okay. Maybe you're good as a manager or as a head of a company that you don't own, and there's no shame in that. If that's for you, that's okay, because entrepreneurship is not for everybody. But if you decide to become an entrepreneur, make sure that you have really strong guts, because you have to be able to keep getting up every single day, even if you keep on getting beat down, because there are a lot of challenges, and it's not a cakewalk. And if you've heard a lot of these inspirational talks from various entrepreneurs around the world, they will say that the one quality that really helps entrepreneurs is their resiliency. That thing that when you get knocked down, you will still get up. That's the number one thing that you have to have, because no matter how smart you are, if you don't have the right attitude, you're going to get beat down. So have the right attitude going into this. Be very realistic. But in my case, I think it's always good to put your standards high. Aim high, because when you aim high, even if you don't get 100%, you will still get, I don't know, maybe 80 or 90%. But have high targets, but also be very rooted and be very realistic, and get ready for the ride. It's tough, but it's empowering, and if you can do it, then there's nothing like it.
Yeah, well,
Completely
I have
agree.
things here.
Completely agree on that one.
Agree with you guys, and like what Ms. Lalaine had said, you can aim for perfection, but what's important is progress. And I'm sure a lot of us have learned in this talk. And before we come to a close, I'd just like to do a quick recap of the things that I have taken notes down here on my small notebook. So what I learned today is that we should focus on our core strengths, as Lalaina said, and you have to be crazy if you really want to be an entrepreneur. Many people will judge you before you start that, and then probably after a few years, people will cheer up on you, saying that, I know you can do it. And then for John, I think the biggest challenge is for him was to how he can serve other nationalities when he had an opportunity this year to grow the business. And what I liked about most in this conversation is how we should focus on adding value to other businesses, consumers, and other people, not focusing mainly on the money. And like what you guys have said, entrepreneurship is definitely not for everything. It's only for the person with a strong gut and people who are truly resilient in life. And with that, I'd like to thank you, Lalaine and John, for inviting me over as your host. And like a child learning from my teachers, I really want to show my sincerest gratitude in this live event. Now, I would like to thank everyone, and we hope that you learned a lot from us today. And is there anything else that you wish to add, guys?
No, for me, I think first of all, I just want to say thank you very much to Lalaine for joining us this afternoon and piloting the DC Academy. And again, we cannot wait to collab with the folks from Illustrado, and we're really really excited. The content that we can bring and deliver by showcasing the services or the value that we would like to offer to the community. And with the help of Illustrado, we have no doubt that we can achieve that one. And again, we're very excited. And for Denarii Cash, as I mentioned, the team are working really hard to support the consumer in terms of any challenges that they're facing in the app during the last couple of days when we upgraded our banking system. Thank you so much for your patience. Denarii Cash is not only for Filipino anymore. we expanded our services and our offerings. So now we are offering to 11 countries from the UAE. You can send now, and well, you can get more value from your money by sending money back home from the UAE using Denarii Cash. Other than with Denarii Cash, we do have different offerings or different capability now in the application. The rewarding system, you can refer your friends and they can get rewarded when they refer their friends to Denarii Cash. And I think just today they just announced this 100% cashback, where if it's 100% cashback from the transaction fee. So when you send money back home, we will be giving you back the money that you pay for the transaction fee. So that's for the Denarii Cash. And looking forward for the more episode of DC Academy. I'm sure Jay will be more excited about with the other lineups that we do have in the next coming weeks. And looking forward for that.
Yep.
Thank you so much, John and Jay. Thank you for having me today. I really enjoyed this conversation. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat, guys. And thank you, everyone. We hope you have learned a lot from us today. If you have more questions, just send us a message, and the Denarii Cash and the Illustrado magazine team will immediately get back to you. Again, I'm Jay Tolentino, and this has been the first episode of DC Academy, The Secrets of Growing a Business Abroad. Watch out for our next episode. Bye-bye!
Ang taas! Ang taas! Ang taas ng exchange rate ng Denarii Cash. Para sa pinakamataas na exchange rate, i-Denarii Cash mo na yan. In light with the community quarantine and growing cases of COVID-19 in the Philippines, nakipag-partner ang Denarii Cash sa Beam and Go para directly makapag-purchase ang mga OFW ng grocery para sa kanilang pamilya sa Pilipinas. Paano magpadala? Madali lang. On the app's home screen, choose Groceries. Choose the location of the beneficiaries. Choose the grocery items you want to send. And lastly, enter recipient's required details and proceed to payment. Ganun lang kadali. Kaya kabayan, kung gusto mo magpadala ng grocery sa iyong mahal sa buhay sa Pilipinas, i-Denarii Cash na yan.
It's being trusted by thousands of Filipinos across UAE. And in fact, the founder is a Filipino one. I would like to invite you all guys across the UAE na kung gusto nyo magiging easy, magiging madali, trusted siya at mura, at the same time higher rates, then let's patronize Denarii Cash app.
Did you know that our favorite Snakes and Ladders game originated in India? It was used as a moral instruction for children and a way to discipline them. And speaking of India, did you know that you can send money to India with the highest exchange rate and lowest transaction fees using the Denarii Cash app? So download it now. It's available in Google Play and App Store.
Are you sending money to Pakistan? For the highest exchange rate and the lowest transaction fee, use Denarii Cash. Download their app now.